All right, so I am back with my weekly soccer rant, and today I'm going to be talking about another big systematic issue, so to speak, with the United States and youth soccer, and that is the fact that 99% of club teams usually have one, two, three, four, usually at most, really good players, and then there's a big, usually significant drop off of talent. And I'm going to talk about why that's a bad thing for players and obviously the overall development process. So let's jump into it. Let's get started. I think you guys are really, really going to like this. So check this out. So before I really dive into it, I want you to think about your club team. And I didn't say it's every single team. I said it's 99%. So is your club team like this? Is there usually one, two, three, or four players, give or take, that are an extremely high level? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your best friend. Maybe it's you and your best friend. And then there's a significant drop-off in talent in terms of overall ability, and that could just be where they're at now. It doesn't mean that they can't reach a higher point. But I'm just talking about right now how players usually have, or teams usually have one, two, or three, four higher level players, and there's a big drop-off. So you tell me, does your team have that problem? So I'll bring it back to this. Remember, our country's goal, U.S. Soccer says, our goal is to win the World Cup. Now, usually when you have teams of such a mixed level of play, right, in terms of ability-wise, it's hard to develop better players or overall better players because right now you have a mixed group. So that's, you have, for example, three, I'm going to use tiers, right? Three lower tier players, like the lowest tier you have. Then you have three, which would be the top tier. So you then have to develop from the lowest tier to the middle tier, so on and so forth. Now, again, that's just a system that I'm trying to give you an idea to think about. But if we're trying to develop world-class talent, if we don't have our best players playing with the best players, because of the way that our system is in terms of how players play with each other, and especially in the area that I live in Central Florida, there are very, very, very few high-level teams where it's like every player is very good. I mean, very good. And I'm talking about has obviously all the fundamental bases, technically wise, has the fundamental tactical bases, and I'm talking about younger age groups. I'm talking like under U12, under U13, things like that. But we don't really have that. But again, if you go to Europe, I mean, I watched Olympique Lyonnais' U13 team play, and oh my God, I was drooling watching like these kids play, and it's like we don't have that here. They're all exceptionally very good. They all knew how to press already. As a group, they knew how to press. They knew when to drop off. They knew how to slide and shift, for example, when defending. They made the field so big and they played so fast, but that's because every player had the key fundamental details. They had everything. And, of course, they were not just the fundamentals. They had complex details mastered. For example, body position, how to receive and turn on the lead foot. And, again, we don't have that. When you have a system where all the best players, for example, or it doesn't have to be the best players, but higher level players can play together, you're going to get results. You're going to be able to challenge players to be better. But when there's players that have less of an interest or they're not as good and they don't have the same drive, it's almost impossible to, one, develop high-level players or two, develop high-level teams. I'll give you a professional example, and I'm going to start with Anthony Martial, who's a Manchester United player now. He's played for Monaco before, where he actually got his first pro contract, and then Olympique Lyonnais in the youth academy. And I'm bringing him up because I want you... So when you don't get that, you miss out on all those key elements and those key details. Now, the American example I'm going to give you, and I use quotes, is Christian Pulisic. Most people think he spent the majority of his years here in the United States in terms of his soccer development. Well, actually, it was spent across Europe in multiple parts. For example, going to Barcelona 3 times for training. And when he finally got to Borussia Dortmund, he was playing at a high level, and I'm sure he had some time he had to adapt to that level. But because he was good enough, they had faith in him that he could reach a higher level, they gave him the shot. And of course, it led to him signing a professional contract. Now, there are a few teams in the area, but there's one team I want to highlight, and that's the '08 team from Idea Sports right now. I mean, they can play, they have a solid squad, they can play at a really high level. And they have good players. So when you have good players, their level's going to rise. And, you know, we've played them a few times, and I'm watching them play, and I'm impressed because I'm like, man, they move the ball really well. They can play out of the back. They can hit longer passes if they need to. They have good combinations, and it's like the only way that was achievable, though, is because they are all higher level players. Once you have that, again, that base of first the technical understanding, the tactical understanding, the mental understanding, and the physical understanding, more things are achievable. But until you have that, until you have the base of all the players or majority of the players, then it's not possible. And that's the takeaway I want you to take away from this is if the majority of the group is higher level, you can achieve more, you can develop faster, players can be truly challenged, and they'll push each other more, but you have to have that. And we don't have that enough in this area alone and then across the country. Now remember that it's not just training at a high level either. You need to play at a high level. So go to big events, big tournaments, big games, whatever. That way you have that pressure. You understand, I don't want to say the consequence, but you understand what it's like and learning how to thrive under pressure. Remember, I gave you that phrase before. Winners want the ball when the game's on the line. Well, the only way to determine when the game's on the line is when you have pressure. So you need to be put under pressure to make that scenario happen. So go to the big tournaments. Parents, players, go to the tournaments that put your kids under pressure. You'll see if they can hang. Can they take the hit? Can they hang? Or are they going to step back? And that's when you start realizing, okay, my child can hang at this level, right? So go to those big events, see where they stand. And then you can make your determination from there. But they have to be tied together. High level training, high level competition. That's how you develop higher level players. It's not one, it's not the other, it's both. And of course, you have to have high level coaching. Listen, don't panic. Listen, okay? If you are in Central Florida and you are craving that high level environment, training and game environment with coaches, let's get in contact, let's chat. I got something I think you're gonna like. So find out, DM me, let's chat. And that's the end of the rant, guys. Tell me what you think. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Engage me, let's chat. And again, let's start changing the environment. Let's tear down this U.S. soccer wall or the American soccer wall. Because again, if we have that goal of winning a World Cup, we have to change the environment that we're in. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. DM me. Let's get going. Tomorrow, like I promised, I will do a live video to bring you my solution to this problem and how to change the lack of high-level environments. So stay tuned for tomorrow for the live event where I'll be live. You can ask me questions live while I'm discussing this. So make sure you tune in for this, okay? If you want to make sure you can be there, let me know what time. That way I know to make sure you can make it. Let me know.